Hey everyone, this is Christina again. Just coming and doing my second video with you guys. And this video is intended for anyone who has been through the foster care system, still in the foster care system, or anyone who just wants to learn more from the perspective of someone who has been through the system. So it's just a little recap of my last video and the reason I'm doing this, and also to bring awareness to the system in itself and how children are affected by the system, in and out of the system. So as of last time, I said that I would go a little bit more into my my experience in the system. I thought I would go ahead and do that in this video. And with that being said, also I'm not going to go into like great detail of things that have happened, but just in general sense of how my situation was growing up. So I guess we can go ahead and start off with I came into the system when I was in elementary school. And that is because my biological mother, unfortunately, was emotionally and physically not capable of taking care of me, nor was my dad. Unfortunately, my dad didn't want children, and my mom was just very immature, to be honest. My mom was 19 when she had me, and my dad was 33. So there's like a huge age gap there between both of them. My dad, still being older, wasn't very emotionally mature himself, unfortunately. And so that's a little bit about them. But before going into the system, I guess I should go a little bit more of that. When it comes to like my mom and my dad situation, they met each other through friends, and eventually ended up getting together and having me. My dad came from a very well-to-do family. His dad was a doctor. My grandmother was a teacher for a little bit, and then also was very involved in her local church, and very well-to-do family, very well known throughout their community. My mom, on the other hand, was not as fortunate. She came from a very southern country, very poor side of the family, not very educated, not goal driven, or just just a very sad situation there. My grandmother was 40, I believe, whenever she had my mom. Neither of my grandparents on her side could read or write, hardly. They both grew up, what I've been told, living on a farm, and so they were taken out of school very early on so they can help on the farm and take care of things at home. So neither one of them really got a proper education, which led into not productive citizens of their community when it came to educating their children and doing the things that they properly need to do for their kids. So my mom's upbringing wasn't, the best situation. She was the youngest of 5 children, and my dad was the middle child of his family. And so them two, getting together was not the ideal situation. really for his family, because his family felt as if my dad deserved so much more, which, you know, is understandable. But my dad, maturity wise, I don't think could really get anything better than my mom. So, which ended up leading to them having me, and then everything, began from there. So my dad didn't really want children, unfortunately. My dad, whenever he found out that my mom was having me, asked her to have an abortion, which my mom proceeded to tell him no, that she wouldn't have an abortion, which, wasn't the best beginning to that relationship in the first place, and bringing a child into the world. So my mom ended up having me, obviously, and my dad wasn't really present. He, was around when he wanted to be, but, there was only for a short bit of time that he was around, and then he basically disappeared. He wasn't really in my life for a while until he had to be. So my mom and my dad weren't together for very long, and then from there, my mom proceeded to be with other men and then have children with other men. So I have a brother that's, I think, 2.5 years younger than me, and that's from another guy. And this other sibling and I grew up mostly together for our first several years of life, and we were very close. And but within that time of my mom, breaking up from my dad and then moving on to someone else, my mom is not a very present mother figure. She, basically had an IQ of really a very young teenager, unfortunately, and which, of course, is not ideal when raising children and trying to teach them, all the things that you have to teach your child and be present for them and then yourself. So this led to her parents, my grandparents, watching after us whenever she wasn't around. So most of the time when she wasn't around is because that she was with other men, which, was man after man after man, unfortunately. And so my grandmother was very present with us when she could be. So from, there, my mom not being present, not giving us the things that we needed majority of the time. She couldn't really uphold a job, unfortunately. Couldn't, give us what we needed emotionally, physically, really ever. And my grandparents were much, much older. They were like in their 70s, when my brother and I were little kids. So eventually, after so much neglect, emotionally, physically, and more than that, DFACS ended up getting involved in the situation, because if my mom wasn't living with my grandparents, she was living with other men. And if it wasn't with other men, sometimes she would have a place of her own for a little bit. And normally that would unravel because she would lose her job, wouldn't be able to pay rent. And also, people would be calling DFACS on my mom and letting them know that we were running around, not being attended to, or had lice at school, or numerous different things. And so eventually DeFi was called, and I think my mom was probably given several warnings at first, and then eventually we were taken into the system. And one of my first memories of my mom getting in trouble, and then the police being called, is when this one detail I go into is whenever my mom and me and my brother were living in a trailer, and my mom was dating this guy at the time, and she, I guess, assumed that he was cheating on her, and I guess she caught him cheating, and she left me and my brother in the trailer by ourselves. And I remember her taking a knife with her and coming back with a bloody knife and a shirt that had holes in it that was bloody. She had cut the shoulder of the guy that she was with at the time, because she found him cheating. And I remember the cops were called, and she was taken to jail, and my brother and I were escorted by the police in the car to our grandparents' house. And I remember them asking us, where did we want to go? And I said my grandparents. So we ended up going there, and I think that just like triggered things from there. All the complaints and everything that were made about my mom not attending to us. So then we went to foster care, my brother and I, and first experience into foster care was not ideal, for many different reasons. Unfortunately, the first home was, this couple that had other children, and I think the two other kids that were there, as a boy and a girl, had been there for a little bit of time before us, and I think for that situation, because they had been there for some time, they were used to getting everything, all the attention, all the toys, all the affection. So when my brother and I came along, I think it was very hard for them, for us being there, the two children anyways. And so, which caused lots of issues between me and the little girl. Well, she was a tad bit older than me, not much, but there was a lot of, kid rivalry there. And so that ended up leading to the parents being very emotionally and physically abusive towards mostly me. My brother, not so much. I think my brother and the little boy got along pretty well. It's just the little girl, I think there's a lot of jealousy there, which caused a lot of issues for me. And also, I think I found it quite hard because I'd never been around or stayed with someone else that wasn't my grandparents or my mom. So it was very, very shocking to my system, and very lonely and depressing. So I had a really hard time. But with some of those things being said, it was a very intense situation going into the system after being taken away from my mom and my grandparents, the only people I knew. But unfortunately, things did get worse. But I didn't want to go into too much today. I just wanted to do like a really short video explaining a couple of things to you guys, and telling you a little bit about my mom and my dad, and just the beginnings of certain things that end up leading to maybe putting it into the system. So that being said, I will end this video here, and I will do another part to this. So it's going to be like a little series. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And I hope to be in communication with you guys. All right, bye guys.